Hi, I'm Shabnam, PhD researcher in FAST Group. My research title is Scale Prediction and Prevention during Geothermal Brine Production. And this research is supervised by Ken, Eric, and Khosrow. And my laboratory advisor is Lorraine. Exploitation of geothermal resources is leading to a significant scale deposition and a decrease in the amount of obtained energy from the power plant. Common scales in geothermal power plants are amorphous silica, metal hydroxides, silicates, carbonates, and sulfates. And the methods which are being used widely all around the world to tackle the problem of scale in geothermal power plants are scale inhibitors, acidification, alkalinization of the disposal brine, aging silica over saturated waters, treating the brine with various metal cations, and reinjecting the disposal brine at higher temperature. The objective of my research is developing a static bottle test methodology to assist in identifying efficient silicate inhibitors dispersants with high inhibition performance applicable for low enthalpy geothermal heat recovery systems to prevent silicate scale from occurring. Why this is the main objective of my research? Because in geothermal power plants, silica scaling is recognized as a potential limiting factor in the amount of extracted energy. What has been done till now? Inhibition efficiency and mechanism of two polymer-based scale inhibitors dispersants were investigated through determining the concentration of sulfur alongside the scaling ion consumption of magnesium and silicate by ICP-OES and measuring their polymer concentration by a matrix-matched high-amine technique. Test conditions for all sets of performed experiments are shown here. Magnesium to silica mix concentrations were 60 ppm to 940 ppm. Mixing ratio of the brines was 50 to 50, pH 8.5, temperature 60 and 95 degrees Celsius. Overall test volume for each sample was 100 milliliter and quench solution was 1% EDTA NaOH. Here is test procedure for measuring inhibition efficiency, performance, and sulfur consumption of the samples. At each scale inhibitor concentration, magnesium brine containing scale inhibitor was allowed to be homogenized before mixing with silica brine. Then they were mixed with each other, and the pH of the large volume mixed brine was adjusted at 8.5. Then it was split into 6 100 milliliter test solutions. After that, they were placed into the oven to be heated to the required temperature. Then the samples were filtered and finally they were prepared for ICP analysis, considering dilution factor 10 for silica and magnesium analysis, dilution factor 2 for sulfur analysis, and also the remaining volumes were used for high-amine analysis. Here is matrix-matched high-amine test procedure. It has two steps. Initially, stock solutions of 1000 ppm active Si in 1% EDTA NaOH, solution A and solution B were prepared. Then they were diluted to give 100 ppm active Si solutions to prepare standard solutions for each dilution factor. Then the absorbance values were measured using the recorded absorbance values and Si concentrations. Matrix-matched calibration curves were constructed. Then for preparing samples, depending on the dilution factor, the required volume was taken out of the remaining filtered test solutions and pipetted into an appropriate volume of 1% EDTA NaOH. For preparing standards, 100 ppm active Si solutions were used, which they were already diluted from 1000 ppm active Si in 1% EDTA NaOH, or solution A or solution B. Then the absorbance values for standards, control solutions, and samples were measured. Then they were inputted into their appropriate constructed matrix-matched calibration graphs, and finally, the concentration of Si over inhibition efficiency test for each sample was determined. Silica and magnesium inhibition efficiency performance, along with the remaining sulfur and polymer percentages in solution for sulfonated polymer-based scale inhibitor SIB at 60 and 95 degrees Celsius are shown here. At 60 degrees Celsius, at 50 ppm and above that, SIB shows 90% inhibition efficiency at 22 hours and 3 days. However, SIB is less effective at short 2 hours residence times. Highest SIB sulfur and polymer consumption is at 20 ppm at 30% and 80% respectively. However, less polymer, around 50%, and no sulfur consumption is observed at 50 ppm and 100 ppm. At 95 degrees Celsius, 50 ppm SIB is required to effectively control silicate scale formation, and at concentrations 50 ppm and above that, SIB is effective to a similar level at all sampling times. When 20 ppm SIB is unable to protect against silicate scaling, sulfur and polymer consumption are higher at this temperature at 55% and 85% respectively. Here are the results for sulfonated polymer-based scale inhibitor A5 at 60 degrees Celsius and 95 degrees Celsius. At 60 degrees Celsius, 50 ppm A5 and above that inhibits silicate scale with best inhibition efficiency performance at 22 hours and 3 days. No inhibition efficiency performance was recorded for 20 ppm A5 at 22 hours onwards with significant sulfur and polymer decline. For 50 and 100 ppm A5, ladle sulfur less than 5% and polymer consumption at 50 and 40% respectively observed. This allowed silica and magnesium inhibition efficiency performance of between 80 and 90%. At 95 degrees Celsius, 100 ppm A5 and above that is required to control the scale. The greatest polymer and sulfur consumption is at 20 and 50 ppm. For higher A5 concentrations with 60 to 90% inhibition efficiency performance, negligible sulfur consumption and polymer consumption standing at 30 to 40% observed. Finally, the obtained conclusions are here. It was decided that high-amine method was more accurate and precise for determining the consumption of Si, as it was monitoring the whole polymer product. At 60 degrees Celsius, 50 ppm SIB and above that gives 60 to 90% inhibition efficiency performance with 40 to 60% polymer left in solution after 3 days, while at 95 degrees Celsius, 50 ppm SIB and above that controls the scale more effectively at 80 to 90% with 40 to 60% polymer remaining in solution. Hence, it seems that SIB performs better at higher temperature of 95 degrees Celsius. For A5 at 60 degrees Celsius, for 80 to 90% inhibition efficiency with 50 to 60% polymer left in solution, at least 50 ppm A5 is needed. However, to achieve this performance, at 95 degrees Celsius, 100 ppm A5 is required. SIB is more effective at controlling scale in comparison with A5 under the tested conditions.